Good evening, free enterprise fans, and welcome to another fantastic community race. We have a wonderful flag set here, FuSoYa in Wario Land, and our runners are already out the gate. We do have a starting FuSoYa, and it looks like a Kane Buddy. Didn't get to see what our opener quite was. Oh, hook start, according to Chad. We're right out of the gate. We're speed running this thing tonight, guys. My name is Vitasia. I'm joined tonight by a good friend of mine, Possum Morpheus. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I am excited for this FuSoYa in Wario Land, and I'm going to mess up saying that at least three more times. I am always happy to be joined by you in the booth, Vitasia. You are one of the best in the business, and it is an honor and a pleasure to get to work with you once again.
Oh, stop it. You are a gentleman and a scholar, sir. But enough about us. To the race, FuSoYa and Wario Land. Let's talk about as these runners are going off. We have a fully stocked up FuSoYa to start. This is kind of an interesting flag set for our runners tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, this is kind of the FuSoYa's back from vacation, and he gets to go forth and do bad things to basically everything except maybe that Val in Baron in 1, where she will have perfect magic defense, and he will not be able to do anything if he doesn't get that nuke off or that virus off quick enough. That little spinny form is going to be bad news for Twisted Flax and our other runners, unless Kane gets that jump off. So thankfully, FuSoYa does have the right partner. But this is all about FuSoYa clearing things as quickly as possible. T Wildish is on for looting. K Trap is on as well. So there's going to be key items in trap chests, and FuSoYa with Quake, with Nuke, with Stone, all of those utility pieces going to make for a very exciting time.
Absolutely. And we see kind of two different uh, thought processes here. We have Twisted Flax and Rex Banner on one side saying, you know what, I started Baron. Let's go ahead and knock out this check right here. Poidric is really doing a lot of the what I would consider traditional checks. He's in Antlion Cave right now. Tibble, however, is going over here and taking advantage of that hook. Going to see if we have another character that we can let's just check it out right away.
Yeah, I don't hate any of these approaches. I don't think this flag set is well defined enough yet as far as people running it to really have come to a conclusion on the optimal way to set up. And of course, that always changes depending on who the companion is with FuSoYa to start. So gathering your party up, figuring out who you want to commit to. Obviously, FuSoYa is the star of the show, but you can't just beat the game with FuSoYa in most cases. He will need some help, whether it be from, in Twisted Flax's case, finding a cursed ring to go with somebody, and that somebody might just be that Tella laying there with that sand ruby turnip. But that's going to be the type of thing that our runners are going to be looking out for, other characters to complement this FuSoYa very well.
Yeah, it's interesting because he does make a lot of the early game trivial. It's that midpoint and end point of the game that really is going to define it. Now, we have three objectives that we have to complete before we get the crystal. All three of them must be completed. We have to forge the sword, so we're still going on key item hunts. We do have to trade away the pink tail, and also unlock the pass store to Troya. And I believe the pass is mixed in with the key items in all of the trap chests as well. So there's something a little bit different, I think, about having to complete everything that we're given. There's kind of one right path and one wrong path. We just don't know which is which yet.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting as well. With that forge being on, it's actually not going to be a sword. It's Super Smith for this flag set. So that might be something where a nice shiny stick from there, a hammer, something else may drive party composition once that forge is located. Same with the pink tail. That could be any number of phenomenal items. So it'll be very interesting to see how our runners handle, especially the forge piece, and see if that will dictate some of their final party composition.
Yeah, and we're just all over the place. It looks like that's a Pelham that's located on top of Mount Hobbs. Twisted Flag's taking the approach, let's build out the party. He's already got the full 5. He's got his Tella. He's got Sid from the Baron Inn as well. It looks like Rex is also picking up that Tella that was from the Sand Ruby, from Baron Inn as well. This is really just amazing to see the variations, especially this early. Tybalt over here, I think, picked up we have a Cecil, which, for my money, I always like a Cecil when you can get the equipment for him in particular.
Well, you have come to the right place then, because with K-Trap on, something's going to show up for Cecil. Yeah. I have no doubts. So Cecil would be a character I'd want to find. Kayn is another one. Mages, as good as like a Palom is, you already have Fu. Palom kind of falls by the wayside here. Tella, great for an anchor, also kind of falls by the wayside. This is going to be very much so about who you find for melee characters to go with this FuSoYa. Oh baby, everybody's favorite, we have a gauntlet up on Ordeals.
Oh boy. Ordeals is really kind of a rude spot. We have, Fu who can sweep through things, so it shouldn't be too bad, but it's worth noting that that's going to really put a drain on his MP at the first half of this fight before we even have the second one. And you really have to use all your sweeper spells. These are some of the largest packs in the game you can get from that alt gauntlet.
Yeah, you get a number of packs of 4, 5, 6, I think 7 enemies even in the back attack gauntlet, so not this one. But yeah, some big packs of enemies, definitely going to be using a lot of viruses, and it'll be interesting to see if there are any tents, any ethers, anything to restore that MP. Otherwise, we might get a whole lot of FuSoYa bonking things in the back attack spot, which could get a little awkward.
And chat pointing out that Tybalt really hit the jackpot in clearing out this Eblan Castle area. We have our first adamant armor located. So adamant armor is normally turned off because it's kind of broken. It turns just about any character into a 1-character solo vest. And when you combine that with an already powered up Fu, just everything goes burr.
Yeah, and that adamant armor, that gives 100 physical defense. It sets any of the elemental magics to 1 damage that is received. So it basically makes whoever is wearing it more or less invincible. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's only a 10% chance out of Eblan Trap Chest now that we're using the new beta flags, since adamant armor is now tier 8 with the recent additions. So a very, common tier 8 find, because there's only 3 of them, Crystal Sword, X-Cal, and Adamant. But Adamant probably the best for our runners, being that anyone can use it, even with a Cecil available.
Yeah, I don't know the math, but I think you're right. It's 10% chance for a tier 8, but because there's only a handful of tier 8 items, I think that statistically makes those items more likely than if they were just still grouped into the tier 7. I don't know the math exactly behind that, but it certainly feels right to say out loud. I wonder though, and Possum, maybe you can help clear this up. I know at one point there was a glitch in the game where, yeah, you could put the adamant armor on someone, but if you ever took it off, it would actually make them like hyper weak to all the elemental spells. Do you know if that's still in play?
Absolutely is. So yeah, decide who you want it on, and you shouldn't really take it off, because otherwise simple things like even a fire spell from the D-Lunars or the Magus Sisters, it will deal tons of damage, because you will go from being super strong against those elemental type magics to being super weak against those elemental magics.
Meanwhile, we have Poydric, kind of the first one up on this, on top of Mount Ordeals here. Let's see. Didn't quite see what that item was. Let's see if I can get a quick double check at that.
I think it might have been the Earth Crystal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Earth Crystal. Uh, that's gonna be interesting. Tower of that Tower of Zod is an interesting early play when you have K-Trap on anyway. But having it now where you can just go and if you're not happy with your party comp as is, that feels like a pretty good play right now.
Yeah, not only that, but it also opens up two more characters. It opens, I mean, the Flame Dog check is open anyway, but it kind of gives incentive to do that without having to double dip. So I don't hate finding that for our runners, especially pre-hook.
Yeah, I would much rather do that than do the hook route at this point. Although Adamant Armor Fu could probably solo the hook route, but why not explore, see if you can drop the key down the well anyway. You're still trying to build out your party, and you're still going on key item hunts anyway. And it's not a bad check as is. Not to mention that Troya Treasury, and we already talked about the possibility of T8 loot. And if you have that Cecil, I still believe the Troya Treasury is going to be your highest chance for anything there, I think. I haven't memorized that table quite yet.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 or 2% per chest, maybe 1.5% per chest, and there's like 18 of them in there. So you can definitely find tier 8s in there. You can find tier 7s and 6s abound. So that treasury, I would definitely want to go, peek around on that as soon as possible. As good as FuSoYa is, if you can find things like, let's say, an Avenger, that can really help facilitate someone like the Kane, someone like a Cecil, and you can have them going burr along with FuSoYa casting his spells.
It's worth noting that at this point in the race, Tybalt is the only one who's went and gotten that Cecil that's located on your way into the underground there in Cave Eblin. So Tybalt double dipping here, having not only the Adamant Armor Fu, but also the only one with the Cecil. And, as we pointed out, if this is pointing us towards that Troya Treasury and there is something like a Crystal Sword in there, Tybalt's going to have a distinctive gear advantage going through everything, which will only matter in terms of seconds in this early and even the midpoint of the game, but when we get towards the end point, can mean minutes and time there in the late end game and even on the Zeramis fight itself.
Yeah, I think the thing with that though is, and I might actually have been inclined to take some of the more conventional routing like Void Draft or Twisted Flax had taken, is with someone as strong as FuSoYa, I do wonder if that time that you lose on the front end by double dipping, that you never recoup because everyone's going to realistically be covering all of those tracks anyway. So it feels like you have to get a real splashy item out of, let's say, the Staleman chest or even the Mad Ogre chest to make it worth it. Now, he hit an Adamant Armor in Eblin Castle, but we haven't really found anything that's put up resistance to where that would have been needed yet. So I don't know that he's going to get that time back yet. It remains to be seen, especially with what will be up here on Zot if that is Tybalt's next destination. But it's one of those things where, again, this flag set is so undefined as far as what an optimal way to do it is. This is going to be part of Season 3 on the ladder, and it's a very nice peek into what Season 3 may look like.
And Twisted Flax was actually the first one into that Troya Treasury, showing us all the goodies. I saw a defense sword. I think I saw 2 defense swords. I saw a Dragoon Lance. I saw a power shirt. It's just, hey, how would you like your melee powered up? Here you go. It looked very tasty.
The Dragoon Lance especially catches my eye because later on, should Lunar Trap Chest be required, the blue and red dragons, effectively nicknamed Bimmy and Jimmy, and then the double red dragons, those chests in particular can give folks a tough time. Not to mention, you also get to exploit the dragon weakness on things like Pale Dim, D-Lunars, anything with that dragon type resistance, that would be the type of thing that Dragoon, or excuse me, the Dragon type, that's what that Dragoon Spear really shines against.
And Flame Dog Chest just having Zeus gauntlets. I say just Zeus gauntlets as if, it's not a key item that we're looking for, but just something that all melee characters really want on their ring slot. So nothing important at all. My goodness.
Yeah, it's for melee users the best single piece of equipment for the arm slot that there is. So in this case, we're going to see Kane on Tybalt's side, for example, who's probably going to be wearing some combination of defense sword, power shirt, maybe a Zeus gauntlet, although that could go to Cecil. Just depends how he wants to set it up, but that's going to be really strong for all of our runners to have access to such amazing gear for their Zerkers late game. Fu will still carry the day early, but this is a really good prospectus, if you will, for the late game for our restreamed runners.
Yeah, it's looking very, very strong, and we're only 16 minutes into this thing, and really we have access to wherever we want to go. And it's just a matter of how efficiently we can clear things at this point. I haven't seen a quote-unquote bad decision yet by any runners. Certainly different priorities. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. It does seem as though we are starting to converge on the Tower of Zot, though.
Yeah, the Tower of Zot, again, it kind of makes sense. There's two characters, there's two key item checks, and it's not the hook route. As nice as the hook route is, having FuSoYa to just clean that out, it still is more of a time commitment than a magma key. So if you can find magma anywhere above ground, you still want to do that. So I would expect our runners to be hitting Baron Castle. I would expect them to be hitting the basement even to try to find that magma key. I think you kind of leave, or at least to look for a demist and then maybe reset, since case summon is off for this flag set. But it'll be interesting to see how everyone routes it and see who's the first one to just take that dive down the hook route. Does anyone aggressively go after it, or do they just keep fighting, on the overworld?
Twisted Flax, in the meanwhile, a man after my own heart, does pick up our Punch Mage that is at the top of Tower of Zot. Opts to do without our resident Bard this time as well. But I've been a big fan of Yang's. I've always considered him a little bit undervalued, so I love it when I see people pick him up.
Well, one of the things about Yang is he fits with the team nicely because he can more or less replace your traditional Black Mage. So yes, FuSoYa can do things like nuke and stuff like that, but if you can Zerk up a Yang and exploit a weakness, an elemental weakness, he can do that damage faster than FuSoYa can. Again, someone like Palom, Yang is kind of a replacement Palom, as odd as that may sound. He does the same things, just doesn't have Quake.
I want you to take that back. Kick is a perfectly acceptable replacement for Quake. It does it all. Not at all. Even I can't. Even a young apologist like myself can only stretch that lie so far.
Yeah, but in this case, FuSoYa has Quake anyway. Twisted Flax getting a crystal ring for his troubles in Zot, so that does tell us that everyone up here is going to get not realistically what they were looking for, which was progression or additional characters that they want in their party. Folks probably like Rosa, Edge, maybe even duplicate Cecils, Canes, etc.
Does look like Tybalt is setting up that Edward to be a floor tank, for lack of a better term, while many other folks are using Tella for that particular purpose, just keeping a low agility anchor that will probably stay dead for a while. But yeah, it does seem, let's see, Twisted Flax is now taking care of Castle Eblin as well. But yeah, Baron seems to be the next logical target, unless we see a spicy play to have someone just dive into the underworld at this point in time, which I wouldn't necessarily blame anyone for doing.
Yeah, we do get a check on Mist Cave for Nylon Z from Poidrak. Uh, Not the demist that our runners may be looking for, since one of the interesting things about this, no free characters and no free key item means demist could still be out there. One of the other particularly interesting things, and this will catch me when I run this flag set, and it will probably catch at least one of our runners, is that no free bosses is on. We haven't found a situation where this has been relevant yet, but with no free bosses being on, that means things like Dark Knight Cecil, things like the Dark Imps, which I believe we've already seen, things like the Baron Guards. You can no longer just coffin them or fatal them. You can't toad them. You have to actually defeat them with raw damage. And that can be quite the undertaking sometimes, which is where having other characters other than Fu really comes into play.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Possum, but that also means that all of the scripts that would normally end a fight, like waiting 3 swings on Dark Knight Cecil, or even the script with Edge's parents, like, you do have to do all the damage to it. You can't just wait out those timers.
Correct. So in some places, let's say Water Hag, it can be quicker because it no longer has the script where you have to hit it 3 times. If, let's say, Water Hag is somewhere and they have 900 health, well, you just have to do 900 and Water Hag falls over. But if you get like a Dark Knight Cecil at somewhere with 30,000 health, or maybe the Element spot with 65,000, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, how do I deal 65,000 before I die to these waves of 700 to 800 every single turn? So lots of tricky situations can come up with that flag, and I hope we get to see something rude come as a result of it.
Well, and the interesting thing, again, because K-Trap is on, but K-Summon and K-Moon are turned off. So there's going to be a lot of bosses, I think, taken out of the pool that we won't normally get to see. But turn around and we're going to see a lot of these trap chest fights, which are more normal enemies that are susceptible to those sorts of things. So it's an interesting dance, I think, at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I guess we would want to hope for like a Dark Knight Cecil at the King Queen Evelyn spot, or a Dark Knight Cecil on the hook route. Those might be the oddest spots that our runners have to fight, unless it's like a sneaky demist at the CPU spot on the Giant behind something really rude. But yeah, we'll see. To your point, the trap chests are going to be the really interesting part here. It looks like we do have Tybalt and Rex, I believe, going after Baron. Oh no, excuse me, Rex doesn't have Baron yet. So Tybalt going after Baron, going to be the first one to show us that. And Twisted Flax may be the first one to go down this hook route. I think he is opting out of Baron. So we do get some divergence here.
It's an interesting divergence. Baron doesn't have the value that you kind of instinctively built up that it used to have, because K-Summon is not turned on, and that basement just doesn't have the same value. That said, it's still it's still a key item location, and we have not found anything. I mean, we have the hook that we need to trade away the pigtail, but that's it. We haven't really found any of the other key items that we're hunting for so far.
Yeah, I would also want to be looking for ultimately a Rosa to round out my party. I would want to let Fu focus on the black magic and have Rosa focus on the white magic. So I would like to look for that potential character before diving the hook route, whether it be from Baron, whether it be from the hook route itself, even Dwarf Underground. I would like to, if possible, prioritize those character checks still until I found exactly Rosa, and just kind of go from there.
All right, so Tybalt showing us Bahamut. Not a problem with the party as set up presently.
Yeah, this is a boss that's just going to die to 1 nuke, and that's going to be that. One thing that Tybalt's doing well, and a number of our runners have done this, is putting that Fu in the middle slot so that he is fast anchoring for our runners on this overworld. FuSoYa's agility being very high, it's going to allow him to just get those spells cast as quickly as possible. So very nicely done by Tybalt again, and a lot of our runners to make that happen.
So you wanted a Rosa, huh?
I did.
You speak it into existence, sir.
I mean, it's a thing you have to do when you play this game. You have to just have a feel for it and just say the things you want to happen. And, good things in this situation come to those who ask for it.
Is that how I win these matches against Dusty Griff? Okay, that's what I need to learn. Okay.
Nobody wins matches against Dusty Griff. Let's not be silly, except for Pancras. Nobody.
Plumeri and I pointing out, Twisted Flex did do something that I would raise an eyebrow at, but I like it personally. He did put his adamant armor on his Yang. Yang is interesting in that the way his damage multipliers work is a little bit different. So I think he gets a little bit more out of the strength boost to it. But I still don't know if I would put it on Yang when you have the rest of the party that you have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And something else interesting, Tybalt got rid of Kane, opting to keep, I want to say it was Edward, Sid, having a defense sword. And wow, that's tough. I would have opted to get rid of just about anyone else given the gear that we have for Kane right now. I'm a little surprised by that, especially having that Dragoon Spear, like late game. That's really going to be helpful to have access to that Cane.
Yeah, I might call that, just the Dragoon Lance, knowing that it's K-Trap and all the treasure chests that are on the moon that have a possibility there. That's something that you have to take into consideration. Dragon weaknesses, especially in a K-Trap seed.
Oh, I may have misspoke though. I think I see actually that Kane is in his party, so he may have gotten rid of Edward instead, which would make a lot more sense. Yeah, no Edward, no Palom. So it looks like Tybalt does still have that Kane, so that makes a little more sense.
I was going to say, what? Okay. There we go. But now here comes a Cecil, which... Tybalt made the decision earlier with his Cecil, so he's already kind of past that pain decision point. I think this is going to be an interesting decision for all the rest of our runners as they pick it up. It does look like Twisted Flax is going for the Cecil. It'll be interesting to see what Poydrick and Rex end up choosing to do at this point as well, because Cecil is very tempting on these flags as well.
Yeah, I would take Cecil 100% of the time on these flags, and even if you never come across a Crystal Sword or an X-Gal, you're going to find so much defensive gear. You just put stuff on him and let him protect everyone else. I cannot see a world in which any of our runners pass up on that Cecil. I'm happy if I'm proven wrong on that, but with 4 runners as experienced as the runners that we have on Restream tonight, with Poydrak, Twisted Flax, Tybalt and Rex Banner, I would be very surprised to see any of them pass up Cecil, given how experienced and well-versed they are with the game.
No, absolutely. And yeah, if you've already done the FF4FE Treasury, you already have 2 defense swords, so why not? It just feels right. Oh no, Tybalt. Tybalt, where are you going? No, Tybalt.
Could be a D-miss check. This was something that was kind of alluded to earlier, that you might just peek and leave. Something I don't hate, but we'll hope that he has read the flags to know that summon is off, and as soon as he sees it not being demissed, just reset out immediately.
Okay, yeah, and it's a Rubicon down there. I believe we've already seen elements at some point, so we know that's a Rubicon.
Yeah, looks like Poydrak is charging to the underworld, going to find these mad ogres that Twisted Flax is fighting as well right now. So 2 of our runners about halfway down the hook route, Rex heading into Baron, and Tybalt making his way down the hook route now as well. So all paths eventually going to converge here. on this hook route, which is not too surprising, all things considered.
No, and let's talk about how much of the overworld we've cleared. I mean, most of these runners have already done both Tower of Zot and Baron at this point in time. We already have the hook, so we're good to go in terms of as soon as we get the pink tail. But I believe everyone's also already done Kabul and Mount Ordeals, and we've just kind of done a real thorough cleansing of the overworld up to this point in time. So, except for the harp, we're pretty well done. And I don't know. Here's the thing: the harp and Cave Magnus are not terribly appealing places. I know it's a great meme and something we love to see as a community, but it's kind of an out-of-the-way location now with no trap chests on the way and a very long cutscene. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if we almost don't see anyone go into that direction.
Definitely. And also, speaking of finding a direction to go into, we've found the Crystal Sword. Twisted Flax has it. Poidrak's about to get it. Mad Ogres, y'all. That's going to be our Crystal Sword for the sea. The first of possibly many.
Yeah, if you hadn't already equipped that adamant armor on someone, Cecil is now your go-to there.
Yeah, FuSoYa casting Nuke is great. Cecil casting Nuke every time he swings and doing it twice as often is even better.
You could just, I really would like to see the randomizer include randomizing the sword swing noises for Crystal Sword so that whenever he swings, it is just a nuke explosion. Because that's accurate.
That would be pretty funny. I would also personally like to see things like a storm animation, like you get when you cast Holy on a behemoth. But there's a lot of good ones that you could get.
All right, so we have soldiers as our first boss here in the underworld. That's not bad. I mean, it's not a fantastic spot, but they don't hit terribly hard, so nice.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about the guards here is that even if the officer is left alive, he will still retreat, even with the no free bosses flag on. So a very curious interaction there. But this is an interesting fight here. All the nuke in the world is not as great as a Crystal Sword for this particular fight. So Ogopogo, not pleasant because it does true damage based on the HP of the party members. So this is a very interesting fight even for a completely overpowered party.
Oh, just look at those damages that Crystal Sword Cecil is swinging. It's a beauty to behold at this point. Just Zerk and go Gur and let Fu be a healer. I love Twisted Flax approaches. I know Tybalt's right behind and he's got more of a healing setup. But everyone's kind of converging on this Ogopogo, and honestly, I don't anticipate much trouble.
No, the Ogopogo is not long for this world. I wonder if you'll even see a nuke thrown in from Twisted Flax or Poidrak here, just to hasten the fight. But I do always joke that Ogopogo is weak to Berserk, and this fight is going to show it off.
I mean, there aren't a whole lot of bosses that aren't weak to Crystal Sword.
That is definitely true. And Ogopogo down on Twisted Flax's side. Not too bad at all. I believe Flax and Poidrak skipped Baron, which is why they do not have that Rosa. I think Rex and Tybalt did Baron. So even having that extra Baron check-in, Tybalt is but a single fight behind Poidrak and Flax. So made up some good ground. Looks like that Adamant may have paid off, and looks like that Cecil getting him earlier may have paid off as well.
Well, there's still, lots of race to go. We've had some interesting, we're 25 minutes into, or 35, minutes into this race. This feels like a late underworld start, especially for these particular flag sets. But again, we've covered a lot of the world up until this point in time. So now it's just going to be about efficiency checks on this underworld. You still have a freebie check in the Fame Arch, but you peek at the bosses to see if D-Mist is there, and then you never think about him again, which is nice. But we have also keep in mind we have the tower that is a very popular check right away. It does look like. Do we have the tower key? I believe we have the
Yes.
tower key. So
Yeah, we have the tower key. We know Water Hag's up at the top there, so air quotes free. I like Flax's play here of just going immediately after because you have the 4 trap chests, you have the Water Hag, and you have the tower key. So that's 6 key item checks that you can get out of the way all at once here. Poydrak taking the route going to Dwarf Castle. Warp Glitch is on, so this does represent 2 boss checks and 2 key item checks. So a little bit of divergence from our runners. Both of them are good checks. I would say I do like Flax's line a little better just because of the density, but there's no wrong option here.
I tend to agree. I think Twisted Flax is making the calculation at this point in time that it's just about the efficiency of the checks at this point. Where can I get the most checks, the biggest bang for my buck? And truthfully, 4 checks right now sounds pretty good. You didn't even have to waste flying. You just kind of appeared in front. So I really, really like this play by Twisted Flax. It shows, I think, a little bit more practice with these flag sets. K-Trap is not common, I would say. It's something that you kind of have to adjust to, and it does change the routing from kind of the more traditional seeds that we've had quite a bit.
Yeah, and one of the things with Twisted Flax as well, for those who know anything about him, very much so a big numbers guy, great at putting spreadsheets together to help out the community with a lot of different things. So if anyone is going to be doing the math on the fly as far as what they think is optimal, Flax is one of those folks. So I'm not at all surprised to see this to prioritize multiple key item checks in a row as quickly as possible. Rather than going with, let's say, a Dwarf Castle or even a Fame Arch freebie, which looks like Tybalt is going to give us the Warrior's Chest and the Fame Arch freebie once he finds that as well.
Poydrak is on that antlion fight. Again, don't anticipate too many issues with this particular fight, and it's down. So 2 checks here from Poydrak. It'll be interesting to see when he shows up. Rex Banner coming through. Oh, let's see if we can get this Quake off. Okay, we can get the Quake off on Tybalt's end before anyone started swinging. Whew, that was close.
Yeah, as long as there's 4 enemies or more in the queue, and you have 4 or more party members alive, and Fu is RA1, he's going to get that Quake off every time. I don't know the exact agility situation here, but I assume that that Sid is slow enough, and if Fu especially has that adamant armor on, no question that would get off even with 1 health.
Oh no. Oh boy. Poydrak. Darkness Crystal pull from... That really makes an interesting decision. And also with an Excalibur in the back, which, hey, if we didn't already have Christmas Princess, it would be fantastic. But, so let's talk about that Darkness Crystal and what all that implies right now.
To me, it would imply nothing right now. You might want to go look at exactly the Hairdryer's chest and the Giant of Babel for the Last Arm chest, but you're not doing Lunar Subterrane traps, unless you really feel like gambling. The way that the key items are distributed with the traps is it basically rolls them on a dungeon-by-dungeon basis, so your actual LST traps have very poor odds individually of giving you anything that you want. So that's one of those things where you would, if you have a good understanding of the math behind trapped chest distribution, you don't touch those. But things like the Hairdryers, because they're the only trap chest in the Lunar Path dungeon or the Last Arm chest, the Giant of Babel's only trap chest in that dungeon, they are very highly rated. So it'll be interesting to see where Poydrak especially goes with that Darkness Crystal versus some of our other runners.
Well, that should be interesting. Tibble, I think, is continuing on his math streak. He is clearing out the Sylph Cave, and there's something to the tune of what, 7 trap chests in here. It's a bananas number of trap chests.
Yeah, there are 7 in here, but
same sort of thing.
Yeah, same issue as with Lunar Subterrane trap chests is that yes, there's 7 of them, and yes, you can quake most of them or all of them if Fu has that adamant armor. But you run into the potential issue of you are now spending time hunting down all 7 of these when you could be doing, let's say, the tower, which the main checks still have a higher priority to hit than a trap chest does, or Dwarf Castle, like Poydrak did. So it could very well play out that this works for Tibalt. And in Community Graces, given the high skill of all of the runners, we have 4 here on Restream, something just shy of 20, I want to say. It's probably 15 to 20 runners total. You got to make some gambles to win these races, and this could be Tibalt's gamble, is that he's saying, I will go for Sylph and see if I can find value here.
I don't hate it. I legitimately do not hate it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Didn't see what was up at the top of the tower for Twisted Flags, but really, it feels like it's been... Oh, it was a pan. Okay. Thank you so much to our tracker, by the way, Elias 5891. Thank you so much for doing all the tracking behind the scenes and highlighting that pan for me, as well as, while we're at it, let's give a shout out to Joe Fuzz doing the restream for us behind the scenes. Thank you guys so much for doing all the hard work behind the scenes and letting us have fun talking about this game.
Yeah, definitely. Huge thank you to both Elias and also Joe Fuzz for giving us the opportunity to just talk about the game instead of having to race it and sit here and look like fools. I'm sure we would be doing much worse than the runners on screen right now.
I mean, here's the thing. I've been doing so much practice for Z4. Like, I don't want to get out of the rhythm by doing any other flag sets.
Exactly.
So. Oh, was that a Legend Sword as well on Twisted Flag's side?
Yeah, it looks... It was either a Legend Sword or a Luca key. I swear I saw something that started with an L as well.
Yeah, I know we already have Luca key. It was a Legend Sword?
Legend Sword.
Okay. Nice. So that's okay. So at least we know there's some value to be had in the tower, in the lower tower. So Poydrak's off to do that now. Twisted Flags is now going around. I don't think we found anything quite of value so far in the Sylph Cave as Tibalt has done. But he's making good time right now going through this cave and is set up very nicely. His Fu is still RA1 compared to everything. So just leveling everything right now. Worth noting, it's also not a bad leveling spot doing all of these trap chests as all. So he's gaining lots of levels on his team and getting them set up for the true end game.
Yeah, I do wonder though, as good as that is to do these early, when you run into things like a 10th key item, and you can get more XP from saving these chests, and this was something that was pointed out in chat. Is there any benefit to saving these, if at all possible, or saving the Lunar Subterrane chests for 10 key items and just making that your grind? Someone who comes here to do Sylph, once they have 10 key items, they're going to be able to get double that XP, and that could save a large chunk of time versus grinding later on. 2 or 3 extra fights can make all the difference in a race this big. So again, a perfectly viable decision, to do Sylph early. But it's one of those things where it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's very viable. I'm of the opinion personally, like I can see it both ways, but I also probably would have held off until I hopefully found the pan, like did some other checks around here just in the hopes that we can double dip. Because Twisted Flax is going to be able to just make more efficient checks of the key item locations since he just happened to pick up the pan on his way.
Yep, and we have all runners now underground. Everybody has made it through that hook route. Rex, the last of our runners, but certainly not the least to do so. I don't know. I don't think Rex faded anything on the overworld. I think each of our other runners faded at least one check. So he's been the most thorough, even if it hasn't necessarily paid off for him, since he has that Luca key, that package, the Sand Ruby, all things that came from those overworld checks.
Chat pointing out, of course, that we did not get anything out of that Sylph Cave. None of the trap chests ended up yielding any results. Now, we still have the Sheila tournament, but have not started that process yet.
Yeah, one of the things about Sylph, at least, I mean, he got a ton of good gear. So if he finds more Cecils, he can equip 2 or 3 of them now.
At this point, though, you've invested so much time and XP into this party. I think you're set, especially if you're Tibble. You got the setup that you kind of want. I don't know if I'd make any adjustments at this point in time, even if it's a Cecil.
I don't know. The only thing I like more than one Crystal Sword Cecil's 2, so that might be a me thing, though.
I mean, you're not, but
it'll be interesting where our runners go from here. We know that out of all the checks that they do on the underworld now, either the pan or Luca with a sneaky D-Mist hanging out there lead to progression, or it is through the moon in some way, or moon adjacent.
Yeah, I guess, when I'm looking through, what other fetch quests can we really do? But at this point in time, it's, okay, Rat Tail, maybe we get that. But yeah, I think it's Sheila or the moon.
Yeah, and of course our runners don't know that. And, if Flax were to somehow Galaxy Brain not doing any of the lunar subterranean trap chests, any of the Sylph trap chests while he goes down there to turn that pan in, then he would have a distinct advantage. But it would be hard to get away from that.
I think the worst thing to happen at this point in time, and I'm making the prediction right now, is that the pass would be located in the trap chest right before, like in a trap chest on your way to Zeramus in that final cutscene room, so you couldn't exit out. I'm calling my shot right now. That's going to happen. That is where the pass is.
That would be fantastic if the pass is in the lunar core, and so you have to walk back and then go ahead and get it all taken care of the super duper long way just to find the pass. That would be pretty funny, and I'd be here for it.
Meanwhile, Poidrig's now going through Sylph Cave. It's, again, trap chest, a worthwhile check. Fu is making quick work of everything right now. It's interesting because, Poidrig does not have that Rosa, so you're right. I don't think he's done the Baron Inn or Baron Castle, and I don't know if he will at this point. Like, if you've had the key for this long and you faded it, you might just make a strategic gamble that it's not going to be there. Same thing with Twisted Flax as well.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to pick something, you know, it's one of those pick a hill to die on type things. And this is going to be their hill. Now, Poidrax's Sid just hit 0 agility, which is going to throw this fight off for him. We hope that this Quake can go off from Fu before anything too bad happens to him. So let's take a look here. Everyone is getting fired down. Great RNG, though, as Fu is the last man standing, and this Quake should go off. So, getting away with one a little bit there, since that Sid is on 0 agility. But that is one of the weird things that can happen with the Cursed Ring, is that you can drop the agility too far, or not far enough, and you end up in an actual awkward situation.
Long story short, agility works like black magic, actual black magic in this game. No one knows anything, and it's all real.
Yeah, that checks out. It looks like Flax taking on the Toad Ladies. We have Tybalt doing some inventory management. This will not be the first nor last time you see our runners doing inventory management. It is very hard to keep a clean inventory on this flag set. Rex picking up the spoon from the Feymarch freebie, which Tybalt and Flax are yet to get, I believe. Or Flax may have just gotten it through his dip into Feymarch just before coming here to the Sylph Cave.
Yeah, and just once again, a huge shout out to Elias for tracking this particular flag set. When you have 4 runners that all go in 4 very different directions and are in 4 very different locations all at the same time, it's a little bit difficult to track something like this. So we see you, Elias. You're doing fantastic work tonight. I would not want to be in your shoes because this is just chaos.
Yeah, and speaking of fantastic work to Joe Fuzz for rolling this one, making it look like at least that we're going to have some lunar shenanigans required. And also to our 4 runners, Poidrak, Twisted Flax, Tybalt 2010, and Rex Banner, all 4 of them for volunteering to put on this amazing show for you this evening. So huge shout outs to them, and of course to you as well, Vitasia. Again, always a pleasure to cast one of these with you.
Oh, and let's not forget you as well, Possum Morpheus. You are one of the top members of the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community. It is always a pleasure to work with you and learn from you so much. I love getting to work with you because I can ask the questions that I'm always too afraid to ask in the Discord channel. Speaking of the Discord, if you haven't joined us in the Discord channel, why haven't you? We do have a Discord for the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community. We have community races going on all the time. In addition to these weekly races, we also have this small little tournament with qualifiers about to come up, Highway to the Zenith Zone 4. All that information is available over on our Discord. Why haven't you joined us yet? It is honestly one of the most welcoming communities out there on the internet, which for anyone who's out there, just Final Fantasy communities in general tend to be pretty welcoming on the internet, but we're the best. I insist.
I guess we're okay. No, I'm kidding. It's a pretty amazing community. I've been a part of a lot of different communities, having played a variety of different games. And without question, this is the most welcoming of the communities that I have been a part of. So huge shout outs to the admin team especially. The community is always going to be what you make of it. And the admins especially have driven a very inclusive, inviting, and wonderful overall community.
All right, so Tybalt is now just has his pan and will be rolling in and smacking his lazy punch mage lying in the bed. And through it all, I think he's actually going to be the first one to be able to turn in and go through all of this Sheila business and then eventually get to the darkness. Through it all, Tybalt's routing, I think, has been very, very impressive, and he's made up all the time. The early dip into Cave Evelyn to get his Cecil was kind of the only divergence that he's made over everyone else. He also did Sylph Cave early, as we mentioned. It seems to be the correct place at this point in time, because he's coming out of all of this chaos kind of in the front of this bottleneck. Oh, no, wait. I take it back. He's got a dwarf.
Almost.
I take it all back. Everything nice I've ever said about you, Tybalt, it's all taking back.
No, I think we're going to have a number of runners who are very close. At least Poydrak, Twisted Flax, and Tybalt, they all faded something on the overworld. Rex is the only one who didn't, so it may seem like Rex is behind our other three runners, but if anyone else goes back and cleans things up on the overworld, then you're going to be looking at a situation where they catch right back up. Or he catches right back up, excuse me.
All right, so yeah, runners are kind of running over each other's steps right now, except for Sheila 2. Come on, I don't think we've even seen Sheila 1 yet, have we?
We have not. Nobody has gone back up to the overworld. Everyone is fully committed to clearing everything underground before stepping foot back in the overworld. The only thing I don't think we're going to see them clear collectively would be a peek at a sneaky D-mist in the sealed cave, and I wouldn't blame them at all for that. That's a full minute to walk down there and check it for a singular boss, which just doesn't seem like a good use of time, especially in a flag set like this.
No, absolutely not. I'm on the same page with you there. So here's the question that I have for you then. Sheila 1, Sheila 2. Let's say either one of those checks is the twin heart. Do you check that before you go to the moon?
Well, our runners may, and a lot of folks on Restream would love to because the people love the music. Personally, I will take the twin harp to the grave with me, and it oftentimes does end up there with me. So personally, no, I don't touch it. For our runners, I could definitely see it because everybody likes music on stream.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference between these large community races where, yeah, we're racing and we want to win, but it's kind of for fun. But if this was a tournament race and I'm racing to win, yeah, no, I'm fading that. Like, there's no way I'm doing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense. You want to try to prioritize the checks that give you the highest return on your investment. So what I'm interested in is seeing where do people go once they get back to the overworld, because things like the hair dryers, which are that lunar path chest and the last arm chest in the giant, those two in particular, I think we will see at least one person go after those. I have played a number of races with Tybalt and Rex Banner, and I know that would be something that would weigh on their mind from races that we have done in the past, where I think that those two of our four would definitely be two who would go after that.
Just to clarify, we do not have the giant flag turned on where if you go into the giant, you have to complete it, right? You can still exit out of the giant in these flag sets, correct? Correct.
Yeah, it's not a one-way giant.
Okay. I think that makes it more palatable. That was kind of an interesting flag in the last tournament, I believe the Lolly Ho League, which made some folks hesitant to go up there into the giant about it. It'd be interesting. Twisted Flax dropping off the hovercraft on his way. Looks like we're going to get our first Sheila check. We have 3 runners all just boom, boom, boom. We're converging on Sheila.
Yeah, so they all did wildly different things underground, and within the span of about 8 seconds of each other are all now going to be doing the same thing. So I would say, don't blink or you'll miss it, but you have 3 shots at it, so you can blink all you want right now. We're going to find out all this information multiple times. Oh,
I'm a witch.
Vitasia.
I'm a
Oh,
witch.
Vitasia. Well, that's the Twin Harp, folks. And it looks like actually we had the wrong name up on the race on the top right of your screen, folks. It's actually Rybon who is racing with us, not Twisted Flax. So apologies for calling that out incorrectly. Apologies to Rybon and to y'all. But it is Rybon running on the upper right, not Twisted Flax.
Yep, our apologies there, but we're here now. We get that corrected. Apologies, Rybon. Every nice thing I said about Twisted Flax and this seed, I now say retroactively to you.
Yeah, and it makes sense though, some of the similar plays that either Twisted Flax, had he been on stream, or Rybon would make. They're both phenomenal runners. Rybon is a bruiser on the ladder as well. Really coming in as a new runner and crushing it. And also because he is so new, part of the phenomenon that is the Pink Puff League. Rybon, one of the leading performers in that current league, has been doing wonderful things in that as well. Huge shout outs to everyone putting that league together as a welcoming new league for players who have not yet done tournaments and things like that.
So that wonderful hypothetical that I gave earlier is now a reality. Tybalt making the dive though. Looks like Rybon's gonna be doing the same thing. Oh wow, this is now I want to see who fates it.
That'll be interesting to see, especially in Poidrak's shoes. If he fades it, that puts both Baron and Twin Harp as things that he would fade on Earth. It's hard to commit to 2 things to fade. It's much easier to commit to 1. So I'm very interested to see what Poidrak does, but looks like he is going to fade both the Harp and Baron. So Poidrak going after raising this big whale so we get some of that divergence.
This is a brassy play. I really like it by Poidrak. I think, Possum, you and I have discussed, I think this is the play that you and I would both make in a tournament race sort of setting because you want to save the time, but I don't fault Tybalt or Rybon for wanting to go ahead and knock out this Harp as well, just because you're already here and you don't want to have to come back down to Earth. We'll see. I mean, they're both interesting plays. We'll see which one is actually the correct play.
I think they're all correct plays. I think it just depends on what the seed has in store for you. But speaking of things in store for y'all, I think this is the part where we either have to stop talking or we get muted, and I don't need to get muted again.
Yeah, I've been hit with the hammer before, so DJ Spoony B on the beats. And that was a Dr. Mario classic. We getting kind of a double dip with Tybalt and Rybon at the same time. However, it is just an Excalibur. So a total waste of time, other than being entertaining.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, while that was going on, Poydrak deciding to do a Baron after raising the big whale. Was not expecting to see that. Looks like Rybon may be doing the same thing. I'm curious on this from both our runners because if there's value here, I would have been very concerned that, the race may have already been won if that's where the value was. So it's a little interesting to me to see doubling back for Baron right now from both Poydrak and Rybon. I think I would have just continued to the moon if that had been my play.
Well, and here's the thought process that I think they're going through. They still need 3 key items realistically. They're still looking for the pass, they're still looking for the pigtail, and they're still looking for the adamant. When you have 3 key items that you're still looking for, even with everything that is up on the moon and available, if there's a check still here on the blue planet, you want to be able to go up, and then as soon as you're done with the moon, you want to be able to fade everything else. So if there is something here on Earth, be thorough and go ahead and clear it out. Now, I'm also of the opinion that you need to stick to your gambles. Like if you've gambled fading Baron up to this point in time, you need to continue to fade Baron because that's no way to win a large community race, honestly. But I can't fault their logic. I just don't know if it was the play I'd make in their shoes.
Definitely. And it looks like we are getting the last arm check from Tybalt. Something that I'm not surprised to see at all. He knows the distribution of how the K-Trap stuff works. And again, having played a lot with him, this is not an unusual check for him to make. So we'll see if this plays out, or pays out for him, excuse me, with a key item. We shall see.
Interesting to note, he did pick up an Avenger sword. So I don't know if you walk that out, depending on what's here. It's another Avenger sword.
He also found a curse ring, though, so he may just walk out the curse ring and the Avenger. He may also be peeking the boss here. He is at 10 key items, so if it's an easy enough boss, he may just do this as a grind, or maybe peeking for a demist. As much as you don't want to see demisted elements, I mean, you might have to fight it anyway.
Yeah, going ahead and doing that save. So Poydrak, meanwhile, is going ahead and doing Cave Magnus right now.
Well, I mean, with a Cecil, this would normally be free, but no free bosses are on. So you have to chew through all 65,000 there. It's not just going to ouch. So I agree with the decision here to back out, because that no free bosses flag is rearing its head now.
Honestly, I'm wondering if the 2 Avengers are worth it. 2 Avengers in the Crystal Ring. If you already have 1 Crystal Ring or Cursed Ring, is it worth all the time investment instead of just resetting out?
I mean, FuSoYa gets you there, but Crystal Sword Avenger Cecil gets you there so much faster.
True. But I think at long last, finally we have Tybalt going to the moon. It's our first trip to the moon today, folks.
Yeah, Tybalt on his way to the moon. Looks like he is going to hit that hairdryer chest that we affectionately call it. If you have never seen this trap chest before in the Lunar Path, you will find out shortly why we call it the hairdryers. But looks like Tybalt may not have had a cursed ring previously. So that is why he's deciding to walk this out. That's going to let him play with his agility much more so than he was before. So I think for Tybalt, that's why he walked it out more so than the Avenger.
Okay, yeah, if that was his only cursed ring, then absolutely. That'll make all the difference later.
Looks like we're gonna get some more music on Poydrak's side, though, while we're getting
Oh,
Rex on his way, and there is half of the forge, like we kind of talked about, the way that the waiting works. Adamant via the lunar path. So Tybalt, the first of our runners, who's going to have the access to the forge.
yep. No need to check Cave Bahamut. No trap chests and no case summons. So no reason to really head that direction at all. So here we go. Here we go to the lunar subterrane. The lunar subterrane. Lunar subterrane.
Sing it, Vatasia.
Now I need to finish writing that one at some point.
Well, that's Iridia. That's a character that exists within the framework of this game. And I don't see our runners taking her except for the exact usage of anchoring. I think they are far too committed to their Zerker parties at this point.
Poydrick resetting out of one seeing that we just have like our 8th Excalibur or something like that that we've received so far. We have so many Excaliburs. It's silly. And not a ninja to chuck them.
Yeah, no ninja to chuck them, and only a single Cecil who has shown up. But looks like Tybalt making his way down to the lunar subterrane here. Going to be looking for all those trap chests and see what he can scrounge up here. Meanwhile, Rybon making his way down into the giant. Poydrak checking for the hair dryers, and Rex giving us our last little dip into Cave Magnus. So we are going to get 4 different renditions of music tonight. A rarity, but a happy little accident, if you will.
Meanwhile, we have Cecil, Zerker Cecil, and then a Zerk up Kane just doing work on this behemoth. Well, we had a Kane.
Yeah,
tend to hit hard. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah, the thing about behemoths is that you don't actually want to be anchored for them because they are super duper slow. The problem is you want to be anchored for just about everything else. So it puts you in this awkward spot that when you run across them and they're not in their vanilla chests, you can't really predict when you want to be anchored or when you don't want to be anchored. So by anchoring and making them relative agility 1 like the rest of your party, you speed them up. And then they counter everything, as opposed to just being super fast by yourself. You only have to deal with counters instead of punches and counters. So behemoths are a tricky mistress in that fashion. It looks like Tybalt is Bosch checking. It is only K main, K trap, so it looks like he was looking for demist there. So giving us a little bit of a hybrid check here, going for both trap chest and boss hunt. So has not forgotten about that demist.
All right, and so does reset out and says, okay, well, I've done that part of the subterranean, so now let's move on to the next part. Meanwhile, Poydrick right behind him. Rybon also now up on the moon, and Rexbane are also on their tails. We have wonderful convergence up here on the moon after we've cleared everything else out.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of makes sense because this is the more standard routing, the more standard approach that you would take is you want to clear out as much as you can on the overworld and then the underground and then move to the moon. All of our runners, they're going to understand how the distribution works on these flags. So it makes sense to prioritize, especially your K main checks first, because those are more heavily weighted than the traps. The lunar traps, first of all, you can't do a lot of them even with just a Fu. You would need some help. And secondly, they have a ton of XP, so you would want to save them for when you have 10 key items. really makes it easier for your party to just deal with them once you have those 10 key items, once you have those extra weapons and armors, and the ability to get through them without too much trouble.
Worth noting as we continue our way through this lunar subterranean, this is a community race. We have 20 some odd community members all running the same seed and no finishes as of yet. So it feels like just the entire community is converging up on the moon. So moon dance party. And we'll just see how this ends up finishing up.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things that is still an outlier here, and chat has alluded to this a little bit earlier. What if something like the package has a demist which has a pink tail? At what point do we actually see that checked? And is there any way it's not literally the last check by every runner?
I think it is literally the last check by every. I think I check Luca Cave before I make that check, honestly.
You gotta love to see it when we see on Rex's screen, he's like, well, what can we get rid of here? You know what? Let's get rid of a couple of Excaliburs and a glass hat. We don't need these things anymore. We've got all this handled already. And Tybalt can get underground now, having found that magma key, so yay.
I mean, fantastic. I love seeing a late game magma key. That's just warms my heart so much.
Looks like Tybalt is fully employing the Crystal Sword Avenger and don't do anything else strategy, which is completely viable for Lunar Trap Chess.
Honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, the only other thing maybe, another Excalibur, by the way. The only other thing maybe is get that Dragoon Lance ready on Kane, because there be Dargons on the moon as well.
Yeah, I mean, other than the dragons, you're really not unable to defeat everything with just the power of Cecil. And if he has an adamant on, he doesn't even really need to be healed. So it's one of those things that you're just sitting there staring at Cecil, hitting things as fast as possible. What can really kill him at this point? I guess maybe not even a hug from a carry. Like he's just gonna run around it and murder everything.
Whatever script the Trickster runs, if you actually hit it with a lightning spell, that's what would probably be able to kill him. And even then, not so sure.
Well, isn't that just a counter lit 3 though to the whole party? And if he has adamant on, wouldn't it still just do 1 damage?
I thought it was like a counter, like multiple lit 3s.
Oh, okay.
Like it's something back to back to back to back or something like that.
Gotcha.
Either that or I just have recurring nightmares about the Trickster when I actually did try to cast a lightning bolt on it when I was a kid.
I mean, it is weak to lightning. It's not lightning. You just have to make sure it dies. Otherwise, you die.
Absolutely.
But we have our runners going through, doing a lot of the same chests. I think Tybalt is 2 trap chests ahead of Rybon, I want to say, and 1 ahead of Poidrak, I think is where we stand right now. He might be 3 and 2 ahead, I'm not certain. And Tybalt has a very small lead, but our runners are very close to one another. Rex getting the Avenger from that giant last arm chest, heading his way to that 65,000 HP spot. We'll see if he takes on this Karate Man, or if he also opts to just reset back out.
Tybalt, with the disrespect, trashing the extra crystal sword that he just picked up out of the treasure chest. That's how you show your dominance over the sea, is throwing away a crystal sword.
Well, I mean, you can't even guard it. What good is it? FuSoYa casting Warp.
I get the sense that was a misclick.
I'm always a fan of it, though, having been there and done that myself many a time. Something you'd love to see is Kane having enough gear and levels that he's actively dodging. And we're getting more warp casts, and we are getting Rex taking on this Karate Man. Rex may be thinking, I have done everything possible, and if it's on the moon, someone may have already finished. So Rex may be metagaming hard here, saying that maybe there is a D-Mist behind this Karate Man, and maybe it has something of value. An interesting choice here. Trying to get into the head of Rex is a dangerous place to be, but I definitely approve of the gamble here. Again, trying to win a community race versus just play one.
Tybalt, meanwhile, finds one of the spicier things, and something that I don't think our runners necessarily wanted to find, in the rat tail. So now we have a random fetch quest down there on Earth, where it is another key item location, and as you mentioned, the key item locations are weighted a little bit heavier. So at what point do you, like, if you find either the pass or the pink tail, at what point do you pull the trigger and say, I've done everything up here, I gotta go?
As soon as I find one or the other, personally, I'm save scumming that. I will find the nearest save spot, and then I will exit out and check the rat tail, and then reset back, because of how the weighting works. Where that rat tail at this point would be extremely likely to have either the pink tail or the pass. The spoon we know is off the table, so in Tybalt's eyes, that rat tail can only be two things. It's either pass or pink tail. So that's the type of thing that you would look at and be like, okay, I think you have to commit. So now, with Tybalt having found that pink tail, I find the nearest save spot, or he is just going to exit immediately.
Yeah, he's not about that life. What a boss. He is just saying, yep, here, we're going full commit.
But, I mean, it's also the type of situation where he's got to turn into pink tail anyway. So I don't necessarily hate it. I would just have personally gone and saved first. Because that way, if the rat tail doesn't have the pass, I don't have to run all the way back. To me, it's a good gamble to make, but maybe this is too far on the wild side. It looks like he's actually going to forge possibly as well.
Nope, he backed out.
Okay.
And he tried to land on the mountains and decided he was going to crash into the mountains and said, nope, it was not meant to be. We will not be forging quite yet. Interesting, does the pink tail first, gets another adamant armor. By the way, we're not powerful enough, folks. We have to have a second adamant armor.
Yeah, I mean, adamant armor. There
makes the right call. Wow.
That is a very aggressive gamble, and something that I am not ashamed to say Tybalt would have absolutely crushed me on this one, making that play. So kudos to him for making that very aggressive choice there to just exit out as soon as he found it. Very nicely done.
And folks, if we weren't powerful enough as it is, we're getting ready. By the way, casual curse string just sitting on that shelf. We're going to get another supercharged weapon from the Final Fantasy IV Advanced series. I think it's random. It's not tied to your starting character in this flag set.
Yeah, this could be anything from, like a Lightbringer to a Flare Hammer to Scrap Metal or Caliburn. So it looks like, well, speaking of Flare Hammers, there's a Flare Hammer.
And he has a Sid. Like, of all the characters that you're worried about your final damage on Zero Miss. By the way, here, Sid, would you like your best weapon, or one of your best weapons?
Oh, that's Sid's crystal sword. That is his best weapon.
I didn't know if it was that or the Thor hammer, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, the Thor hammer is basically his Excal. The flare hammer is his crystal sword. So that's pretty cool to have your anchor. Well, now FuSoYa, you've done well. FuSoYa, you are now the anchor. Sid is coming off anchor duty, and he is about to go and murder some things.
Zeus Gauntlet, Adamant Armor, Fiery. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very fast service.
I wonder if we had Bacchus wine, it would be very possible to see a zero Big Bang Zeromus here. But I don't think we have Bacchus wine, so we can't get Sid, Kane, and Sid and Kane in particular zerked enough, or zerk quick enough. Although 2 Avengers.
Yeah, we have 2 Avengers and a Rosa and a Fu. I mean, one of them throw your Silk Web slow, the other one zerk up Sid. So honestly, I think it might still be doable.
Oh, it'd be interesting.
And here we have some Z flags in chat. Possumorpheus, my good friend, would you like to do the honors to explain to everyone what the heck is up with those Z flags?
Yeah, so those flags in chat, those Z flags, it's not actually nap time, even though it is getting a little late on the East Coast and Central U.S. And especially in Europe for our friends overseas. It's a question though as to who's going to be the actual final boss, because Zeromus is too big and too bad and too mean to just throw him in places like Antlion Cave. We can't just run around and have him big banging our party members. So the question that we all like to ask with regards to the final boss who can't be put anywhere else is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And is it cute?
Really, everyone wants to know if it's cute or not. And that's a 50-50 toss-up. But we all want to know whose butt it is, at the least.
And I guess there's also the question of, does it even have a butt? And is it new? There's a lot of different questions.
There is. There's well over 450. I think we're getting close to 500 some odd Z sprites. It's a ton. Black Lotusness.
Yeah, that's a fairly valuable Z sprite as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's one of the most expensive Zero Z sprites that's on the market right now. I haven't checked my recent copy of Wizards of the Coast magazine, though.
Yeah, I definitely have not either. But I'm interested to see. Like, I don't think a Black Lotus has a butt, right?
Not natively, no. However, yeah, no, I do not. It has a bud, but it does not have a butt.
I like it. And we have a lot of damage coming out here. Oh, there is the Big Bang, so we are going to get an HP refill here.
So we got 5,000 damage from Cecil zerked up. I just want to see. Oh yeah, 6,000 damage from Sid. Oh boy. You weren't kidding. I don't know if I've ever actually seen the fiery, the flare hammer in action before.
Oh yeah, it makes a mess out of things. And meanwhile, with Tybalt going to town on this Black Lotus, all of our runners rapidly approaching their go modes as well. Rybon and Poidrak, both in go mode now, or soon to be in go mode, having gotten their pink tail turned in and doing the forge. Rex going to be close behind, but Tybalt currently in the lead, and no one has finished off stream yet. So we do have a chance here of Tybalt being our first place finisher overall. There is Rocks.
Did he quint?
Oh, he absolutely did.
He
Ever the
quinted,
showman.
yeah. And there it is. Flash, boom, bang. And with that, GG to Tibble. I guess first place finisher? I need to double check this.
Yeah, first place overall and on Restream. So huge GGs to Tibalt. And we will see if we can get him in for an interview.
At GG's official time, 1:30:32. GG's, just a fantastic race. You know, there was only a few things different that Tibble did from our other runners on Restream, but those little things added up over the course of the stream. So really looking forward to chatting with him afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. One of those big things was getting that that early hook dive out of the way, doing the Staleman chest, and then coming back up to do Eblin Castle immediately. He got paid off with the early Adamant, which just let his FuSoYa have so many extra turns compared to all other enemies and all other party members. That really kind of drove things home for him. So job very well done there. You know, taking a little bit of a different line, but getting paid off for it. And meanwhile, Rybon on his way to fight his own Zeromus. Hoydrak right behind him, heading into the pass room, and Rex going to be getting his pigtail and his pass shortly, but not quite yet. And I do believe we are joined by Tibalt. GG's and congratulations on your first place finish.
Thank you, GG's.
So, you know, there wasn't a whole lot that you did different than the other runners we saw on Restream, but the one thing that stood out to us was one of those really early plays, diving into Eblin Cave to get Cecil early, which ended up paying off because you had a nice, you know, leveled Cecil before anyone else had one. And then that Adamant armor as well. What's your philosophy? Like, why did you choose to do that first with everything that it had opened up to?
Well, I mean, you have starting hook, and you've got a Fu that's vanilla, so you have all of his spells. Like, Eblin Castle is free. Let's see what the character is down there. Maybe check the Staleman chest. You've got 4 key item checks there. And then when I got the Adamant from Eblin Castle, I'm like, well, Fu just became online. And then everything was just opened up from there. I'm like, I'm just going to go do all the trap chests. All right, let's go do my key item checks. And it just, nothing was in Sylph again.
Yeah, Sylph ended up being a little bit frustrating, I think, for everyone. Although Sheila had the goods, it turns out.
Yeah, well, then you have top of tower being the pan. I had debated about doing tower before Sylph. I had debated about it.
What prompted you to not do that then?
I figured with the amount of trap chests in Sylph, there was a high chance of actually getting the pan there. And, you know, if I don't get it there, and if I don't get it all, I've at least set up Sheila 1 for, you know, when I go back up to do Fabul. It just so happened that I found the pan. All right, let's go do this real quick before I forget. And there's only one reason why I left the moon when I did. I saw somebody what I thought to be have finished in the race channel.
Oh, so the you know, 5-head big brain gamble when you got the rat tail and then you got the pink tail, and there are still, you know, several trap chests on the moon, and we thought this is an amazing gamble, real brassy of him. That was a mistake.
Yeah, it was always like, oh crap, somebody finished. Oh, might as well, you know what? I gotta just go. It happened last time, just gonna go. And, well, you know what? Rat Tailhead was a pound.
That's funny. I like it, Tibble. I like the style. Going through your travels on this, you basically left no stone turned on the Earth, or no stone unturned on the Earth. Excuse me. Is that typical for you on this flag set? Have you played enough of it that you kind of have a path you like to take? Or
Nope.
is that just something that this particular seed, that's kind of where things led you?
It's just kind of where things led me. This is only the second seed I've done of this particular flag set, so just Monday and today. And it just seems to be that you get all of your levels in Self, and you're ready to go up on the moon by the time you full clear Earth. And so you can take on the Bimmy and Jimmy or the Double Red Dragon.
And while we're discussing, Rybon does finish in third place, 135.04. So he'll be joining us as soon as we finish up here with Tibble. Walk me through, what's going through your mind as you're going through, because everything opened up so early, and then the Darkness Crystal was available relatively early in Dwarf Castle. What's your thought process going through about clearing everything first and then going to the moon, or did you consider going to the moon earlier, or what's going through your mind there?
I hadn't considered going to the moon earlier. I figured I still have to get the pass, so I still have to, come back down to Earth. But I don't want to have to make the transition back underground more than once. If I find pass in the, up on the giant, and I have to come back underground to Durnan Forge, and if I left trap chests somewhere in the underground, well, I'd have to travel back again to look again. So it's just a matter of like a tier system of, I don't want to have to come back here again except for Forge. I don't want to have to come back here again except for Pass. It's just how I was running it. I was only leaving myself one thing to come back to.
That makes sense. Very efficient way to play it. Now, are you, Tybalt, looking forward to running this flag set, on the Season 3 ladder? Is this something you're going to be, now with your success on it, going to be trying to kind of leverage that going forward? Or is this kind of a one-off for you for this week?
Yeah, I'll give it a couple shots on the ladder, to be honest, if times do allow. But, yeah, this is actually quite fun. So, yeah, I will definitely look to this in the future for the ladder racing.
Excellent. Well, very happy to hear that. When you first got up to the moon, just a quick question for you. You had you checked Giant and you checked the lunar path kind of before doing the lunar subterranean trap chest. Is that also something you normally like to do, or is that something that just kind of a spur of the moment thing, trying not to have to dive all the way down?
Yeah, just not have to dive all the way down. I'm going top down with the trap chest. Like, you've got the hair dryers, you've got the Mac Giant, and if you're still on a demist hunt, which I hadn't found demist, I'm right on the path to go check the Murasame altar.
Definitely makes sense. And we saw you check that Murasame altar after the trap chest on the way, and then just reset right back out and then start your dive for the rest of the trap chest. So it made sense. Very heads up overall. Great use of saves coming throughout the run as well. So job well done overall.
Well, thank you.
All right. Any final words on this seed as a whole, or any general commentary on Free Enterprise? We have some, of course, major events coming up here directly.
Yeah, we've got the tournament coming up, which I'm looking forward to. Season 3 ladder as well. But I thank both of you for both doing the wonderful comms that you do. I believe it's Joe Fuzz with the restreaming. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Elias's first time tracking today, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
He's done tracking before, but he's very much like me. Like, you take a break for a little bit and then you come back. He's been around. I think last time he did tracking was Zima Zone 3 is what we were talking about earlier.
Okay. Again, thanks again. We couldn't do this without you. And that's all. I'll let the other runners, as they finish, come on in. So, GG's and thank you.
Appreciate you so much. That was Tybalt 2010, of course, our first place winner for this evening. Some other finishers as we're trying to get Rybon in here. Charlie finished in second place. Rybon finished in third place in the community. Flurry 14 in fourth. Twisted Flax, the actual Twisted Flax, in fifth place. Harump in sixth. Poidric does finish in seventh place, and then Microcorks in eighth, as we're getting ready for Rex Banner to finish up as well. Poidric has declined an interview. He said he had some things to do, but let's see if we can get Rybon in here for a quickie interview as well.
Yeah, definitely. And from third place to eighth place, less than 4 minutes. Fourth place, would definitely tell us that there was a flurry of finishers in there for sure. To get all those times coming in that close together.
I see what you did there.
I apologize for nothing. Huge shout outs while we're waiting to all of the Pink Puffs who were participating this evening as well. Second and third place, actually, both Reckless Charlie, who finished second, and Rybon finishing third, both members of that Pink Puff League we were talking about. So amazing job to them to represent the Pink Puffs in a community race setting. Some very bright stars in the future for sure, and in the present, honestly. And speaking of those stars, we are joined now by Rybon, our third place overall finisher and second on Restream. GG's Rybon.
Hey, thank you very much.
So walk us through. This is kind of a little bit different of a flag set than everyone else. K-Trap can throw some people off. You had tackled it like a champ, though. What was your overall strategy as you were approaching the seed?
My initial strategy when I started was, I want to pick up 5 people and I want to go do Eblin. I figure, well, it's a quick way to get some experience. Trap Chest and Eblin, at least in the few K-Trap seeds I've played, have had high value. But instead, I tended to get sidetracked. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do Antlion. Oh no, I'm going to do Ordeal because hey, I got to tell it could be useful, and that probably set me back a little bit because Tella was actually really not that useful. I never actually had a full powered food before when I played Seed before, so I didn't really anticipate how powerful and how many doors he was actually going to open. But otherwise, it was just try to get as many traps as possible. I'm under the impression that on K-Trap and K-Main had a higher likelihood of actually having key items, so I tried to prioritize those checks, and unfortunately didn't really pay off when it came to like Tarp, Baron Castle and so forth, but just try to knock it all out and try to find the key items I needed.
Yeah, normally you would be correct on that. It just didn't happen this seed, except for that rat tail at the end, but that's absolutely good analysis of how it would normally play out. As far as your pathing when you got underground, one of the things you did that none of our other runners did was you immediately went up tower. What kind of drove that decision to do lower Babel right away as soon as you got underground?
Well, the 4 trap chests are pretty juicy and pretty easy. And secondly, I did peek the boss. I knew it was Water Hag because I had fought Alt Gauntlet earlier back on the mountain. So I know that asking before the race, everyone was kind enough to tell me that Water Hag was different on no free bosses, but I figured I had enough power to take care of it. And really, I just didn't want to fly around and fly back later. I figure if I'm here, I have the power to do it, I will do it.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. You're not going to get the normal script, so you got to chew through whatever the HP is at the spot that Water Hag's at. In that case, it's right around 20,000 or something, but with the team you had, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. So definitely good analysis there, but it wasn't going to be super hard for you to, get through that. But, it might have taken a little bit of time, more time compared to maybe a Dwarf Castle or something like that, but got you six checks and got you your upgraded airship back to the Enterprise. But overall, again, job very well done on the run. You had faded a couple things before going underground, and then you doubled back to them when you got back up on the Blue Planet. things like the Baron Key, things like Twin Harp, which you got as well. What was your decision to kind of prioritize those? Was it just a K main thing, or was it a situation where you just didn't want to lose to something you may have faded previously?
If I remember correctly, the Baron Key was in Everett Castle, right? So by that point, I felt like I was already positioned to go down hook route. The likelihood of Baron Key being a magma key to save me time on the hook route was low, and even if it was a magma key, for example, I still would want to do Evelyn Cave and Lower Babel just for the trap chest and the likelihood of actually getting something from there. So I decided to press onward rather than double back to go do Baron. And simultaneously, Baron's a bad check. It's a long check for one key item, and I wasn't really looking for characters anymore by that point. So I decided to fade it and double back to it later when I really had nothing else but Moon trap chest to go with. The big thing I did fade was Fabul. I faded Fabul defense until I came back above ground. I don't know, I seem to have this bad habit lately of I'm not going to go to Fabul until I find the pan. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. This time I did happen to find the pan, I believe underground at Dwarf Castle. Unfortunately, the pan, Sheila had nothing today, Fabul defense didn't have anything of value, so the entire, sequence was a waste of time, but that's my general strategy to try to minimize movement around the map, because I know that's a big loss of time that I tend to have when I play these seeds.
Oh, definitely. And I know that you play a lot of ladder. Are you looking forward to this flag set being on the ladder, or is this one of the ones that you may not prioritize as much? It seems like it would be something I'd love to see you play, given how well you did this evening.
Now that Sea Hero's gone off ladder, I got to find something new to play. And this one was actually kind of fun. My first time playing it, had a good time. Full power food really opens up the seed, as I said earlier, so I could see some sub-hour matches on ladder with this, and I'm looking forward to giving it a shot.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Rybon, for volunteering and for doing an amazing job. Get another high finish in one of these community races. I know that you've been running quite well in Pink Puff League as well, so really getting your name out there as someone to be scary in the upcoming tournaments. I know that you're going to be going from Pink Puff to veteran in very short order.
Oh, well, appreciate it. Still a puff for now. I don't know how much longer. I'm expecting Asuka to kick me out pretty soon, or graduate me, but that makes, perfect sense, I suppose. And I look forward to trying to represent the Puffs in ZV4 and maybe making it to the round of 64. I don't know, that might be a big bit of a leap for my first tournament, but I'll give it a shot either way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Rybon, for joining us this evening. GG's again. And everyone, that was Rybon, our third place finisher this evening, second place overall. And get your GGs out and remember that name. Rybon is going to be one of the ones to look out for. But with that, we are now joined by Rex Banner, coming in 10th this evening, fourth place on Restream. But a race very well done nonetheless. GG's to you, Rex.
GG, folks. How are you doing this evening?
I think we're doing great. How are you?
Oh, not bad. Love the 17 of 17.
How's it feel sitting on that gigantic mountain of Excalibur and crystal swords that really didn't get a whole lot of use there?
Yeah, I think we found where they're hiding from all the rest of the races. They've been put into these ones. Fu's hoarding them all for himself.
So he's taking revenge for being left out from many a tournament before. Got it. So as far as your routing, Rex, you were the only one of our runners who opted to clear everything on the overworld before diving the hook route. Everybody else decided to fade one thing or another. Now, what's your kind of mindset on opting to clear absolutely everything before the hook route? Was it a magma key situation, or what was kind of going through your mind going through this flag set?
Well, there's always the magma key. It's always nice to find, and it just with K-Trap, you got to sort of clear everything, and I find it easier if you can just work your way and do it in one sweep. It's a little easier to keep track of where you have been and where you haven't been. So I just like, with the K-Trap, just clearing as much as I can before moving on to the next area.
That definitely makes sense. And when you went up to the giant, we saw you play around up there a little bit. You peeked the boss at Elements, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you were our only runner who decided to take on the boss there. What was kind of going through your mind when you went there to go after that giant?
I was looking for D-Mist, hoping that, maybe D-Mist hidden at CPU would give me a little bit of an advantage, because most people would fade the giant. So I was really hoping to see D-Mist at CPU. But as soon as I seen it was just Baigen, I left.
Gotcha. Definitely makes sense. Try to make that gamble, but seeing, it not, that it wasn't going to pay off, just kind of cuts your losses at that point. Knowing that you don't really need the rewards, the Avenger, or anything else that you had picked up from there as well. So definitely makes sense. In your experience on this flag set, do you normally see these run where you have to go up to the moon and do these lunar trap chests, or are you normally seeing on this, if you've run enough of them, that you get to clear everything on Earth and find them there, or in Sylph for tower trap chests? What's kind of been your experience on these?
Well, with the K-Trap, I generally find most stuff either on Earth or on the moon. It's from hair dryers, the last arm on the giant generally have it. Like, I normally don't have to clear the lower subterranean, but this has been 2 runs in a row because on Monday it was the same way. But any other runs I've done, like, it's very hit or miss, but normally you can sort of skip the LST and call it good.
Gotcha. And I kind of have one last question for you. It's a 2-parter. You looking forward to this flag set on Season 3 of the ladder? And also, are you looking forward to our upcoming tournament, ZZ4?
I am very looking forward to the tournament. We're going to give that another run, see how we can do. The ladder, yeah, this will be one I'll probably be playing on the ladder, just sort of try to even out the burnout from doing all the ZZ4 runs with the tournament. So I like this will run. When I first sort of looked at it, I wasn't too sure how I'd like it, but after doing these 2 community events with it, I really enjoy the K-Trap no EXP. It takes me back to how I started playing this game. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And Vitasia, do you have any questions for Rex? I think I've exhausted most of the time. I apologize for that.
No, I think you covered everything, Rex. It's one of those weird things. Rando's gonna rando sometimes, and you doing all of the clears, I think, is something a lot of us would have done. So, and it's just, how things go sometimes. It's still very well run. Still in the top half, I think, of everything, despite being 17-17, which is amazing. So keep your head held high, and I do not look forward to racing you in ZZ4.
Same.
Well,
Hard same.
Well, thank you, folks, for the commentary. Thanks, Joe Fuzz, for the restream, and is it Isa for the button pressing and keeping them away from Possum. And thank you, folks, for just putting these on. They're always a blast, and enjoy them. And we couldn't do them if you folks didn't help out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rex, as always.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rex Banner, and to all of our featured runners, Poidric, Tybalt 2010, Rybon, and Rex Banner. Make sure you give them a follow here on Twitch if you like what you saw from them as well. One last shout out to our folks behind the scenes, Joe Fuzz on the restream, and Elias 5891 with the tracking. Thank both of you so much for all the work behind the scenes. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, my co-commentator, Possum Morpheus. Always a pleasure working with you.
Likewise, Vitasia. Save those kind words, because they should go to somebody like yourself, not to just a little old trash panda like me.
Everyone, just as a reminder, we do have another community race. We have a wacky flag race tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern right here on the Free Enterprise channel. Forward is the new back is the flag set that's going on. Make sure to tune in here on the Free Enterprise channel for that. It does look like we are going to be sending everyone and rating Denari, who is doing some ZZ4 practice flags. So everyone stay tuned and make sure to tell them that Golbez says hi, and do it in that kind of low whisper, like Golbez says hi sort of thing. Make it creepy.
And remember, no spoilers or you get to bonk.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye, y'all.